I'd like to open the meeting of the trustees of the Roselle Park Veterans Memorial Library this evening. This meeting is being held in compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law. Can we please all stand for our flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And while we are standing, I know it's hard, but let's just a few moments for Sandy Thompson. And we had some other deaths that people in town that do not live in town anymore. It was a sad week. A lot of friends passed, so let's just take a moment to remember them and all they did for our town. Thank you. Okay, let's do a roll call, please. Pat Butler. Rashmi Sheikh.
Alexa Dollar-Cruz.
Sujata Sekou.
Charlene Story.
Jeffrey Regan.
Susan Hamilton.
Joe Diorio.
Okay, thank you. Okay, will the board please read the minutes of the last meeting of June 17th, please? And are there any corrections to the minutes? Any additional information or deletions? And I have one, Dexter.
Okay.
Just one addition. On page 2. I love the way I love your minutes. I have to tell you, I never had a world like this, because I can go right to the number and I can tell you where we are, and everybody else knows too. So if you go to number 13,
Yep.
I would like just to, the reason that we had the vote and why we voted is that we also wanted to say that the library would be open till 5 p.m. on that Saturday. Okay. Received a nice note from Pam. Okay, are there any other corrections, additions, or deletions as you read through?
No, it's on my name.
All right. Hearing none, can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes as they are read?
I'll make a
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
President.
I think we should actually go around and do a roll call for approval of the minutes, if we could. So let's hear a yea or nay for the minutes. Rashmi?
I'm going to do it.
Yes, thank you. So you're going to abstain. Okay, Dexter? Sajada?
Yes.
Yes.
I wasn't here, but my understanding is that we still can vote.
You can't, yeah.
So,
You could. All right,
so,
thank you. The minutes are approved. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Now, I lost my agenda, so I'm in trouble.
How do you do that? Because this isn't like a regular meeting.
No, but I wanted to go through just to see if there was anything, and I lost my place. I'm sorry, everybody. Give me a second, I'll find it. And it isn't a regular meeting.
Well, I'm giving some suggestions from what we talked about last time.
And Susan, maybe while they're reading, would you like to speak on this new grouping and how it works?
Well, I know we talked about last time that maybe it would be better, since we don't do line-to-line items, we just have arbitrarily, not arbitrarily, but from last year, we figure how much we spent on each thing, and that would we decide to put it as a actual balance for each item. But we're different from the town in that we don't have to explain if the book's adult runs $1 over and we take that $1 from children's, it's not a big deal. So, since, I don't know, there was some conversation on it, I decided that maybe, or not I decided, I think somebody here mentioned that it might be better if we group categories and then put a number on each category. And then therefore, if, for instance, we have $25,000 to spend for all of these categories, for the books, children's, adults, large print, and the AV, VOT, DVD purchases, that the bottom line would be easier to follow. And as you can see, year-to-date, an actual balance, we're halfway through the year, we've spent half of our balance. So, I think we're doing pretty good. In June, we spent $208,000, and we still have $208,000 to the end of the year. And I think it makes it more clear this way. It's simpler, and it's more, I don't know, streamlined.
If I may interject, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I'm going based on what I've heard plus what you just said. The format, it has merit to it that Susan's presenting because the categories are grouped into, for the most part, like kind.
Right, like
Exceptions.
not appliances, you know, like the right,
Utilities.
utilities,
Mhm.
books, you know, that kind of thing, salaries, pension, medical.
What I would suggest, and what Susan says is correct, we don't have the same regulations as a municipality does when it comes to moving from line items to line items. For the most part, the municipality has the ability to move, I'm sorry, let me take that back. The municipality has two main categories for each department, salary and wages, and then another one for other expenses. And as the regulations go, you can't spend more than what's been budgeted from those two main categories. Within those two main categories are subcategories, similar to what Susan's doing here. These would be you have the main categories as outlined here, and then the subcategories would fall under, let's say, for the second set of categories, books, books children, books large print, periodicals, so on and so forth. It might still be helpful, again, with the board's input, to still see the numbers, but understanding that the under and over, so you would print both, is that what you're suggesting?
We would print both, but this
Okay.
would, just, I mean, not everybody,
And then-
we would print both if you want to see the actual.
Mhm.
And then we would use this as our actual,
yeah.
our guide, or whatever. To
Yeah,
know that the
actually,
bottom line
Mhm.
is okay.
And then, what the board might consider is that if there's one of these categories, 5 categories that are here, that we find that we are going over, then like a municipality during the last 2 months of the year, they have the ability to transfer from one to another, still holding the bottom line the same. So the bottom line in this case would be the 416 and 910. So let's say if books goes over towards the end of the year, the board could, through a motion or through a resolution, say, okay, we're going to cover the expected amounts over the budget amounts, we're gonna take 2,000 from the book subtotal and put it into the, whatever the section's called, the section below it, the office expense. Take 2 out of the 25,800, put it into the 2,700 to cover over expenses and office expense. You know what I mean? That makes some sense, only because the concept is to avoid an overage at the end of the year, the bottom line, this bottom line. So if you want to try to hold to that, then still allow for flexibility, but if it does happen, there needs to be an action by this body and an explanation why we're over and why we think we can absorb it within the other subcategory. It still gives the library some flexibility, but also catches, I think, what Sajada's trying to do, catches any problems before they're about to happen. Problems, i.e. going over the bottom line.
So
I guess, I'm not.
Are you saying that, wait.
So
Are you
Jada,
s-
do you need a whole, do you
No,
need
no,
one
no,
of
I have
these?
it. We have it here.
Oh, okay.
So are you saying that we need to, vote when we're going to move from line to line? What are you saying? I'm not sure.
That's what my suggestion would be.
Oh, okay, that is what you're saying.
Just so that it becomes part of the part of record. It's a little bit cumbersome, granted, it's similar to the governing body's format.
Right,
They get to move funds towards the last 2 months of the year.
right.
But at least I think, again, just a suggestion, it would alert us to, okay, why did we go over in books? Why was our budget plan for the beginning of the year not sufficient? And if the bottom line, we're not going over the final total, the final budgeted total, then we have to find that money somewhere else in another category.
So we'll do it
And
with
it'll
this.
hold everyone to, yeah,
With the categories.
yeah. I would still have
We'll
this,
still
I
have
like
this.
detail, that's my personal preference.
Well, we'll still
detail.
have this, but then we'll also have this.
But I think working off of the 5 categories would be where we would try to hold within the line items.
Okay, so,
Just a
just
thought.
people, we'll still have these, but, as an example, for what you're saying, so, for instance, I'm looking on this sheet here,
Right.
and I see that there's a deficit here. So are you then saying that we are going to, this is, what is it? I'm looking at on the actual balance.
Of periodicals, but that would be
Period.
absorbed into the books part.
Right, so I'm trying to understand what Joe is saying. Are you saying now,
I'm gonna go over there. You-
okay,
I mean,
I am looking for those of you, it's periodicals, is it? Periodicals print. So for the 990.33, are you saying that, what are you saying we'll do to that amount? If it's like that?
But as long as it doesn't go over this sub-account, I'm just trying to figure out trying to be done here. And, for example, I'm just gonna mark these up. The first section would be salaries and wages. The second section would be books and periodicals. Third section would be office supplies.
Yes.
Mhm.
The next section would be utilities.
Mhm.
And then,
Last one?
Other charges,
Other charges.
Miscellaneous.
or miscellaneous.
More popular miscellaneous.
Yep.
I hate miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous there, then it's miscellaneous.
Okay,
Okay.
so, for what I'm thinking, is that we work within these 5 subcategories.
Right.
If deficits occur in the details,
Mhm.
as long as it doesn't create a deficit,
Here, where it says subtotal.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
and if it does, we would, my position is we would hold ourselves to saying, okay, well, if you're $900 deficit in books, then where are you getting it from the other subcategories, such as utilities, or, maybe office supplies? Because the bottom line is you don't want to go over here.
Over the actual balance.
We could still question why we're going up, why do you think?
No, I think this is the right approach, and one question I had for Matt was, is there a reason you're not just putting it all in one sheet? Because
You could merge the 2 together into one sheet, where you would bold what you have here, like
I
you
know your
have there.
summations you're gonna have
That's
to
an
work
excellent,
on.
that's an excellent idea, because then we would have all the figures in front of us, which makes a lot of sense.
So you've got to just blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it all on
Yeah,
one
it's
sheet.
just,
So you would take
everything would
this,
be on-
right,
So you'd see
and you maybe like,
It's a
Yeah,
really
and
good
then-
way, then you
Show
see
that
it all,
these
and
are
you also see like, how Susan is approaching the year for herself too, like she'll see like maybe, this is a year when I'm not buying as many books as I am DVDs, or doing something else, or doing more children's than adults
No, I think
at
that's-
certain
that's
times of
good
the month,
working.
so you'll see that, in addition to seeing her reports that come through, you'll also see it reflected in the expenditure, so you get more of a picture of how the library's functioning during the year.
and you can see now it's July, or the end of June, and we've spent half our budget, so we're right on track. Without,
Yeah.
picking on each
I
individual.
think this is what we discussed
Right, this is what we discussed.
last month, and I think it's good just to re-summarize. I think we need the detail because the reality of the detail will be our baseline for our budget process next year, right? So that we can
Right.
actually together decide line by line, not category by category, line by line, what we think the proposal should be, because we actually have a good actual. I think as a group, we should just agree that
we go in here.
Right.
moving between the lines will be at the category level. It seems to me that that's a very good middle ground. Obviously, one way to also do it then is just complete line by line, but there is an administrative aspect of it, and kind of, I think these are like enough that
It's flexible.
we're not going to
flexible enough
slap your
without
hands,
going-
children versus, but we should still know it because
Right, because
we're gonna get it right the next year.
right, because
So-
if books are over, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if books are over, wait, well, why was it over? Okay, let's look at the detail. Oh, it was adult books, what happened with adult books, why are we over? Then we could hone in on why, without, so, like Michelle said, she could pull that off, she could put two
That's
together.
great,
Right.
that'd be very
So I can
good.
outline it.
So just to reiterate, we're not going to, every time we have a deficit, like what we have in large print, we're not going to vote then to take money from somewhere else and put into that. We're going to go and focus on the categories itself.
Yes.
Correct,
Okay.
that's what I'm suggesting, yeah, it'll,
But I think we should discuss every time we see a deficit.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it
Of
happening?
course,
Right.
of course.
Yes.
So
Well,
that-
because there could be a major problem like what we had with Verizon, you
Right.
know, that whole thing, you know, and of course I'll bring that to your attention. Well, we went over because of such and such, you know.
Was Rochelle able to get together those gas bills? So we could,
Yes,
See.
I did,
great,
I did a comparison of the, past
Okay.
3 years.
okay, do we have the cubic feet? Because without the cubic feet, we can't really tell if we're being, if the charges have gone up or gone down.
I'll,
You see what I
I'll
mean?
add the cubic feet to
All right,
that.
if you would, yeah, because otherwise, you know, we know that we spent more, but we don't know whether it was
Whether it
cold
was because of
February,
cold,
whether
right,
it was a warmer one the year before. If we
Right,
have the
right.
cubic feet, we can say, and then if that's, if we are paying more per cubic foot as it works out than we did in the past, then we need to go to the borough and say, you know, we need to look at this supplier.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
So what do you think, Charlene, about what's being said about these two sheets?
Well, I think that makes perfect sense. We can, you know, it's flexible, we're not becoming so, you know, locked into administrative red tape, and yet we're still keeping an eye on what's going on, so that next year, as Dexter was saying, we'll be sure to have a very realistic budget.
That said, it
You
does.
know, and, I mean, there will be changes, I'm sure, all of a sudden they can decide that all hardcover books are gonna go up 10%.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, things like that happen, but, I mean, at least then we can look at it and say, uh-oh.
100% agree, and I think it just shows you that we probably need to have a discussion on some of these, so the books piece, year-to-date, halfway through, not necessarily covering a straight line spend at this point, right? So category of books, 16,000 year-to-date, our 2015 proposed is 25,000, so I think this is the right opportunity to figure out our theory of where are we, what is the plan for the rest of the year, 16,000 at the category level. And if that's the case, then there is a shortage of 7,000.
Where are you, where?
So it's
Where are
a
you?
category,
Books and those?
category
Oh,
page.
category.
So forget about the 6 in it, we're just talking about the subtotal that includes,
25,000, you're at 25,000?
Yep.
25,800, you've already spent 16,000.
That was the periodicals, and that was because we bought that database, and we put it under the periodicals. So you see, that's what I'm saying. It's, that wasn't just magazines or any of that.
Mhm.
It was, we decided to buy the database that was,
That was in April, correct?
right.
Yep.
And so therefore, it went up in that line, but we still, the bottom line is, in that category, we still have plenty of money left. We've been very conservative with spending.
what might be a thought in the future is just the timing of the purchases. So that, because if you look at the.
We have no choice sometimes.
Understood, but for example, the fixed costs, for the most part, are your utilities. They're pretty stable, you know, year by year. You're gonna get somewhat of the same number. Miscellaneous will be, what's that?
And salaries.
And salaries. Books, maybe the office supply part of it might be more flexible. So if something goes awry in utilities, you might wait till you do your books or certain supply office purchases until, let's say, the last half of the year, the last quarter of the year. So you avoid a situation where you're, you know, in October, and all of a sudden something happened with utilities, and you have nowhere else to get the funds because you already spent out of books and office supplies. However, likewise, if you're doing well with utilities, towards the end of the year, towards the last quarter, you may be able to do more books. I mean, because the question that comes
Well,
is, if you get.
obviously, we do that. We do that. I mean, we do look at all the line items and say, but sometimes, you know, we need book jackets. We can't
Understood.
say, I'll wait till, December and buy all our book jackets, and then we won't be able to put the books on the shelves. So, you know, I think we do a pretty good job of figuring out when we need stuff, and sometimes we just need things.
No, understood.
Like paper,
It's
we
just-
go through a lot of paper.
If over time, you can slowly get to the cycle of buying things in category 2 and 3 towards the later part of the year, and this way you have more flexibility. That's all I'm suggesting, you have more
If we
flexibility.
can, we do. Sometimes we can't,
I just don't wanna get to a situation where all of a sudden there is nowhere else to get
yeah.
the funds because your
We're pretty good so
variable
far.
subcategories are all tapped out.
For sure.
So
This is
let me ask a question about the surplus.
Go ahead, Susan.
So, is there any way we looking at touching the surplus, or you don't know, or?
Using the surplus is figured into the budget, using the
Yes,
portion.
a certain
as part of
percentage.
our
Certain percentage.
427.
Okay.
Now,
so-
if we come in less than that, then we didn't use as much of the surplus.
Right,
I mean, it's not engraved in stone that we have to use the 25, but we're given permission to use it if we need it in our budget.
so.
But our plan is only to use 14,970 of it.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's not to use all of it.
Right.
You cannot use all of it, that was
But
determined.
if we use more than that, it means we
Went
kind
over.
of went
You're
over
over your
our
budget.
Right.
budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're gonna use only 14,900 of the 25,000? Is that what we're projecting?
Well, if I may, the plan would be to just hold to the 416,970. That's the whole number. If we hold to that, like Dexter said, we only use a portion of the surplus. Actually, we come in less than that, then we use
Where are you
even less
looking at?
surplus.
The 14,000?
Just
That's what
the
416.
revenue, 408, 390, added
Oh.
additional 12, it means we got 402.
Right.
402 doesn't cover our proposed budget of 416, so the library surplus is 25.
Right,
So we theoretically,
Can we go back?
right.
so that's 420, so I'm saying, we think,
Oh,
So we already have enough,
I
according
see,
to this,
I see.
we have enough revenues to hold to that expenditure, that budget amount. That's using 25,000.
Right.
If we come in at 416, we don't use as much surplus.
Right.
If you come in less, we even use less, but if we go over, then we're gonna, that,
Right.
this is where we need to hold.
Right.
Charlene, she's gonna get you just this year for now, so you have something to look at, and then she's gonna do the
Yeah.
last 3 years.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, no, no,
I should better visual.
Yeah.
More
Thank
should
you,
get some
Joe.
whiteboards, actually.
Okay, Rashmi, you had a question for
Yeah, I have a
Susan?
question for her. For the utilities section, do we have like for gas, for example, which is most expensive in winter time than right now? Have you averaged it, like for example, last 2-3 years, you have an idea, right?
Right,
That-
that's why we came up with the bottom line, because we
Yeah.
calculated what we did last year and the year before that. Yeah.
So like you budget according to that?
Yes. Of course, you know, you never know.
I know.
You know, a cold winter, a hot summer, you know. I mean, this year we haven't had to put the year on really that high or anything. It's been great. So, you know, you save wherever you can.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just gonna go back to my question about the
Please.
category of the books, et cetera. So, according to our actual balance, we have 9,500 left. Divide that by 6, that's $1,600 a month. Some months you spend, outside of the April blip, which was your periodicals, sometimes you spend a little less, sometimes you're a little more. So, going just back to the category level, I would just like to get some comfort that, how do we know we're not spending 9,500 for the rest, the next, more than 9,500, 94, 88, 40? For the
Well-
rest of the next 6 months?
Well, first of all, the May number is a lot of the summer reading. And we do get reimbursed a little bit of that from the Board of Ed. So May and June is always our highest month when it comes to the children and the adult books. And then the rest of the year, the next spike you'll see is probably like November, because November, you know, they come out with all the December books. But I would say that these are the highest numbers, and you're not gonna see numbers like that anymore for the rest of the year.
So they're like publishing trends, is that it, Susan?
Publishing trends,
Yes,
that's
you
exactly
see
what it is.
Spring, fall,
Yes.
new books come out, that's
Okay.
that's when you buy more, correct? And then
Right.
the rest of the year maybe a little less,
Right.
so it wouldn't
And
be
the summer
averaged
reading
out.
program, and then of course, with the schools getting, you know, not having their libraries, we've had to buy a lot more of the nonfiction books. So that put our numbers up a little bit,
Okay.
so.
As long as we're comfortable with it, I think we don't have to then watch it, just because
Because
the
you
trend
spend,
is
you
not.
spend more than 50%
Yes.
already.
Yeah, I
That's
know,
right.
but that's in the
Yes, you are.
first part of the year we always do.
Okay.
Yeah, the last part of the year, we're not gonna be spending that much. And you can see that from the years before, if you've saved any of your, you could tell that. we don't
December
spend-
is not that much activity in the library.
Not that much activity, but in November, we do buy quite a few books, because a lot of the publishers put out books for December,
Oh.
you know.
It's not the neatest.
I-
But it's here.
Yes.
So you asked-
My children back.
I'm trying to find a 3-hole puncher in my house so I can at least.
Would you like one? We have one here, you could use it tonight.
You have it?
There'll be several hours ago.
Yeah, right.
But it is the publishing trends.
It is the
And
publishing
I
trends.
understand that world too. Books come out, they start October advertising for the holidays, so they'll put them out
Okay.
October, and they're new, and they're reviewed early, and then by
Yeah,
November
well,
you're buying,
the
and
big au-
also
the
buying
big
in
name authors
December.
will be coming out in
All
October.
right, so I'll just
I know
use the-
because my husband's birthday is in September.
And spring
so
with
it's
children's
always the
books,
first week.
February,
To
end
find
of
a book that
February,
he likes.
March and April are
Yeah,
real
well,
big.
but
Fair
it's
enough,
never
I'll just use a
Yeah,
data
until
point.
then.
So is it? or
July
a couple weeks
2014 was
later.
4,000.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
July 2014 was 4,000.
See?
No, but 4,000 for the month.
Well, that's probably because we didn't put, well, June is high.
September 2,100. So this is the 1,500 mark that I'm trying to.
So if he's using
Establish
historical data from the prior
Yeah.
years.
All right,
you
so
can-
then what does that come to? That's 600,
Well, you
6,000, right?
No, but I didn't do the August.
No, I wasn't over.
Another. I'm
Books?
doing this in my head. 1,800.
What was
No,
the round,
books,
what was the,
no.
what, just off from what you're looking at, do you have the rest of the year?
I'm trying to. I've got. 1 second.
Because from what
I've
you're
got
reading off,
October.
you almost hit the 9,000 just with those 3 months.
Yeah, no, I only have. in
But they're not
front
gonna
of
be
me.
that, I'm telling
I've
you,
got
they're
till
not gonna be
November
that way
actually.
for the rest of the year.
I've got till November, year to date was just south of 30,000, not including December.
We have $7,000 more to go, and we're not gonna, it's not gonna be
So
that high.
I'm comfortable enough with it, I'm just saying if we wanna use July as the next month,
Yeah,
what we did in July was books, now going to the details, like the individual line items, books, adult was 1,300. Periodicals, print was 2,600.
yes, well, the periodicals we do pay, that's gonna be, that's for next year, but we pay this year. And that's because we have to put in our request for all the periodicals this year for next year. So that'll probably be about $2,000, which will be calculated in here.
Here's the December.
We paid early last year because, and then we got a discount. Usually I don't pay that until the following year. But this year, they offered us a discount if we paid early, so I think we got like 10% off. That's why it was paid in July, where it's not normally paid in July. Or periodicals, is that what you're looking at?
Sorry.
Okay, I'm not gonna, it all depends on our comfort, but if I look at July through December, and I only have a hard copy, so I, in my head, calculate 14 to 15,000. I can spend a minute trying to figure out the exactness, but if we wanna use this, and I only have, being on the board just for a year, that's all I have is the 2014 data point, so. It could be a trend that we watch next month as well, but, I don't
So
think
basically,
we're
if
here
we use
next
last
month.
year's numbers
Mhm.
against this year's
Right.
balance that's left, we're over.
Yep.
Susan says she can work with the 9,000, so.
Yeah, it's fine, it'll be
Okay.
fine.
I'm just
This
bring
year,
up the data point that is factual, and I will do the exact edit because it's gonna bother me.
we also, I think, budgeted a little bit more for books last year than we did for this year.
And you also said the schools gave you money already?
Yes, and not already, but
Oh.
the schools will give us money for the summer reading books. They usually give it to us in
So
September.
you
Is
haven't
that- does
purchased
that-
them yet?
Yeah, we purchased them all.
Oh,
We
okay.
purchased them all, and then we pay for them, and then they give us money for, yeah, we had to purchase them, it's all for summer reading.
All the money back for the books you purchased, the
Just
schools
those-
reimbursed?
Not all, but for the summer reading program.
Right, for the
Whatever
summer.
we, yes, whatever we have to, add to our collection,
The school reimbursing.
the school reimburses us. They always did in the past, so I'm assuming they're gonna in the future. It's not much, it's like $300, $400.
And that's, is that within this number, the income number? Or it's applied against your expense? Maybe it's not.
They-
Michelle, when the money's coming in from the schools to reimburse the book purchase, does that go against the expenditure on the top of this report, or does it go into your other income?
It just goes into other income.
Okay, so that's built in within your
Well,
SIG.
It may go into the books.
Okay.
I have to check. Let me double check on that.
When you have, it's
I
not,
have to check my spreadsheet.
it's not like emergency.
Well, actually, that's a good question. What should it be? How would we want that to reflect, actually?
Should be go in the books, definitely. If you're reimbursed for the books, it should go in the books.
So isn't there a
Technically, it should go into income,
Income,
but again, we have flexibility with the library budget. If it was on the borough side, it would go in as other income. Unless they were paying the bill directly, unless the, was just forwarded it, it's,
They just send a check, or do you send the bills to them?
I would send a check to the
No,
library, and they go to the library.
I send them the invoices of what we spent, and they send us a check.
Send them a check.
Because you actually spend the money beforehand.
Yes.
And then you
Yeah.
get it back. So
Yes,
basically, it's like a discount.
yeah, we
Should
spend
go
the
in the
money, and then, yes, and then they give it to us back.
Okay.
One more question, yes. Who decides what to buy?
For books,
Books and like children books.
well, the
that
children's
bring-
books, the children's librarian, she gets a certain budget, like we try and stay in a budget. And then, I do the adults, Debbie does large print, I do the periodicals, and, we take suggestions on DVDs and books on tape. From people, like if they come in and say, well, could you get this from me on books on tape, and nobody else has it, we buy it.
Okay, any other questions on the financial or budget?
$15,038.47
Okay, Dexter,
is the,
got it.
the second half actuals from 2014.
So that's good.
No, it's not.
Or budgeted for 16,000.
There you go, that's
Susan,
9,500.
Oh my God.
What?
You'll be over, Susan.
According to this, you have only
If you vote today.
9,400 left.
9,480.
Oh, you're talking about the last half of the year was
Last-
15,000?
Yes.
Oh, but it's not gonna do that this year.
No, I'm fine, anyway,
Yeah.
it can't, because it shouldn't,
No,
but it's a trend that, even if it's going towards it, that means, I guess theoretically, you'd have to do zero.
well, maybe
In
there was
November,
less in the
December.
beginning part of the year, because, we just spent half of it, so we have another half to spend at the other half of the year. So maybe we spent more in the front part of the year, initially last year.
That's probably not gonna be,
You're gonna have them dig.
it's not,
It's-
but I think it's fine, I'm comfortable enough saying that,
When I'm in
the
trouble.
reality would be, if you spent theoretically 9,500 by October, I guess that would mean zero for November and December by, kind of, to
Right,
Joe's point, you'd be forced not to buy anything.
right,
Is that what you're saying? But instead of you'll spread out the 9,500 over,
yes.
I'm okay with it, I'm just, per our kind of new categorizations, and not necessarily asking line by line, that is where we stand
Correct.
for, as of June, for, the books, quote unquote.
The books, yeah.
Now, if there's a major expense in another area that you have to move the money to, will that just happen, or does the board want that to go before us on a vote? Just think about that for a second.
What do you mean by major?
Well, for
How do you
example,
define that?
well, any expense over than what the proposed budget would be in that category. In other words, if books, if we go if Susan needed more than 25,800 to complete the year, if she gets to December, she has to do something, or even November, and she wants to move things. Do you want that to be something that she will decide? Or did you want the trustees to be a group that would get involved with the vote on that?
Well, I would think you'd wanna get
Just
involved
asking.
with a vote on that.
I
If it's
think so.
something that's a major expense, it's something that's not out of the ordinary.
Well, more than the proposed budget, in other words. Even if it's couple hundred, just, you know what I'm saying, we need to decide that,
Now we need to know.
I would agree.
We need to
so.
know.
Okay, okay.
No, but at this point, what Susan Desi is saying that, well, Dexter number said she'll be over, but Susan said she won't be over. So, if a major expense happens that go over this, Susan can't purchase it at all, right? That's what you're saying?
Well, that's what we need to vote on today. Now, I'm just trying to put everything together, and please correct me if you see it differently, so that we can go for a vote on this tonight, and then Susan would bring it to our attention if there was something like that happen.
Yeah, definitely, should be voted.
Okay, think about that for a second. Any other questions or concerns about this before we take a vote on it? I really like the categories. I think, as a former librarian, it just, for a newcomer, anybody who's new on the board or someone who does not know how libraries do things, it kind of puts things in perspective for average people to know how the year runs, So I think this is excellent, Susan. I think you did a good job with this.
I echo that. I think, hopefully this is as beneficial for you as it is for us, because you'll, know this information before we do when we meet, and can kind of already, if you see something, have a kind of proposal of how we'll cover it. So I think hopefully this is, now that you know that there's only 9,500 for the rest of the year for the quote-unquote books, that you'll do that, you take that as a data point in your kind of librarian.
No, this is great.
leadership. So, like I said, it's good for us, but I'm most hopeful that it's actually really helpful for you as you manage kind of the business for us.
I think that, if I may mention that, there is going to be some times where, the purchase will have to go through, and we may not, it might have been tomorrow, right, the day after the meeting, and if we don't have, we have the whole month to wait before we can approve that budget, we might be losing out, so we also need to allow some flexibility within the library staff to move money around, and then maybe just work backwards from the next meeting to just take it apart and get on board with it. She'll need to have some flexibility between meetings for some of these purchases.
Unless it's way out of line.
Yeah, the only thing, I understand the concept of moving money, but I'm looking at, if Susan is guaranteed that this won't go over, if a major expense happens,
Right, discussions move.
Absolutely.
yeah, then we shouldn't come back to the board and say we need to purchase we need to move funds from anywhere, because Susan is guaranteeing us that she's not going over this amount.
Which amount, the category amount or the 416?
The 25,800.
Category.
Right.
I think we've given her that flexibility. If you theoretically want to do 0 adult books for the rest of the year, if she thought it was a good decision, I think kind of to redirect the children's, because there's been an influx of children, programs coming in, et cetera, et cetera. I think as long as, you're right, the category, I think maybe what I've heard is if her spend goes over, if her planned spend goes over that category significantly, she might have to make a real-time decision, to Jeffrey's point, so kind of that, but then we'd expect her to make it up somewhere and come with a proposal of where your category movement would be when we meet again.
Yes, I think that makes sense.
And, just to reiterate Joe's point, I think our goal is certainly not to be over, a penny over 416,970. Right? Like, that is, so if there's a penny over, and, penny sounds negative, but kind of, I'd like us to make sure we're comfortable spending.
Well, like for instance,
penny
if
over.
every single one of our computers crashed, and we needed computers. I mean, that would be something we would have a meeting about and discuss where we would get the money.
Right, and it's.
Would we use surplus at an
Well, I think something on that level, you know, we'd have an emergency meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, that's,
But that's gonna be big money,
Yeah.
as opposed to say, you know, a couple of $100. It's gonna be more
And
than that.
and you could call that emergency meeting, Susan, if you
Yeah.
only we can go ahead
So
and
far,
call an
there's no
emergency meeting if some situation happens like that.
right.
So if there's a situation where one category is, you know, unless there's an emergency, one category is going to exceed, Susan's gonna recommend another category where we would take the funds for that cover the cost. What I suggested to Michelle is that we create another column next to the proposed budget and just call it revised budget.
Oh, that's
So at that point, whatever decisions are brought up here, she can do it.
But she's fabulous.
That's right, yeah.
Michelle can do anything.
Then we can
But it
do
does-
it.
Exactly.
That's great.
So
We
that,
both
those
have year to
revised
year.
budget amounts would be things that we've, that had happened, the board okayed, and is reflected in the
Right.
revised
That's
number.
good.
The
for
revised
next year, we
total
really-
still equals 416,970.
That's right,
Yes.
yes.
Right.
Unless we make a decision otherwise.
Correct.
That's correct.
And speaking of Michelle, we got a perfect audit.
Oh,
Again this year.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Perfect.
Excellent.
A++.
Excellent job,
Yeah.
Michelle. Congratulations. Thank you for all
She
you
does
do
a
for
beautiful
us.
job.
Okay, so any other questions on the budget? If not, I would like us to take a vote on this new plan with the revised budget addition. I think that's a great idea too.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Sujata.
So, if there's some emergency, and then we take money from some other line here, or some other category, that means that we will not at any point, I guess we'll stop purchasing, so if we take something from what we call miscellaneous, that means, and something happened and we take from miscellaneous and we put it to books, that means that we're going to lose funds from the miscellaneous area, and then we're gonna have to go over this amount.
No, unless we don't spend it in this
She's gonna have the plan of how she's
No.
addressing the.
No, what she's gonna, for instance, let's just say, there was a convention that Susan was planning to go to in December.
Right.
And she might say, well, you know, we're really in trouble here in the books, we need more money there, I'm not gonna go to that convention, and I'm gonna put that money from miscellaneous up to books.
Right,
So it's just gone from miscellaneous.
Okay.
and then we would make that adjustment.
That would be brought before by Susan to the board,
Yeah,
to say what we're
right.
doing, we would bless it, if
Right.
we can agree to it, and then.
An example that wouldn't be acceptable would be, well, in November, we'll turn off the lights to save electricity costs.
No, but in the past, we have,
And all, you know, and then, you know, yes, it will accomplish the dollars, but probably not the best thing from a library perspective.
but we have in the past,
Turn off all the lights.
no, not turned off all the lights.
Back with
And
candles.
candlelight, yeah, right, in the library, imagine that.
You're a new romantic library.
What was I gonna say now? Oh, we have, closed a couple of nights.
Close nights.
Oh.
In December especially.
Yeah, that's.
As we're getting close, because, you know, we can't change the salaries and all that. So if we go over in that and we see ourselves going over, we might say in December, we're gonna close Tuesday nights, like we do in the summer.
That would affect the part-timers.
It would affect the
Right.
part-timers, and it would just be, and it would also affect electricity and all that stuff, you know, so we've done that in the past.
And that's something that would come before the board.
Right,
They're
well, we'll
used to
see that in
anyway, and
in
we would decide on
October,
that.
and if we feel that we need, because November and December
Yeah,
are
government
notoriously
furlough.
slow. Well, I don't know about a furlough, but just a shutdown for a little while.
Well, hopefully we're not gonna get.
Hopefully that won't happen.
No.
We are not anticipating.
No, I agree, so I'm not going
This
to,
time.
it's not just the dollars, it comes with a reason
Yes.
and how she feels comfortable making that adjustment. So
Right.
I think,
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the revised budget, plan for this year, as discussed.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, let's take a roll call vote on this, A and A. Ashmi,
yeah,
Sujata,
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't vote. All right, it passes, please. This is, president does not vote, except at the time.
Really?
I
I
know
thought
the
on the board,
bylaws are right here, want to see them?
Yeah, let's see.
All my minutes are
President's, oh,
voting.
yeah,
Nope,
I've never known that.
sorry, guys. No.
Wow. Is that true?
It is true, actually. I'll let you read it.
But then you can,
Yeah, but then just kind of,
Interesting, because-
I only vote in a tie.
let me just.
I wonder if
have
that's
to break it
contradictory
up.
to statute though.
Last
because
meeting,
you're-
you
These
only
are the
had
bylaws
five
you wrote that I'm using. and
voting
these are not
members.
mine. These are the
Doesn't
old
matter whether I
ones.
wrote them or not.
Exactly.
You
We all
applied
wrote
for
them
a
actually back then.
quorum, was that,
Let's see where it is. But it is true, actually, so.
if Pat's not voting, that was only for.
It was
It is
Alex,
really true. It's in here
You,
somewhere.
Sunjata.
Okay, so our motion passes
Oh, he wasn't
then,
here.
and we are
And-
accepting the new
and
That
plan.
wasn't, I'm saying Pat was 5.
Were
What if
you or
there's
Chris
no-
voting
I
on
count
the
for a
list then?
quorum, but I don't count on a vote. I don't
Oh,
vote
okay.
unless there's a tie. If
So-
there's a tie and a vote
You
situation.
count for a quorum,
But not a
Five,
vote.
five
Five,
people
not
is the
voting.
quorum
From
for
what she's
us.
saying, she
In other
counts
words-
to conduct the meeting.
Right,
But
that's
doesn't count
basically my
when
job.
it comes to voting.
I'll find it.
we'll
I
take
know
note going
it's
Very
forward.
interesting.
There should be,
Yeah.
it's the way it was in the Casella Center as well.
Yes,
Really?
that's correct.
Yeah, but
yes.
the-
So I want to start voting last.
Okay.
But the positions of the Casal Center are not
If I need
created by
to, I'll make it a
statute.
tie.
Library Board
So
of
I can
Trustees is
vote.
created by state law,
We go
not
back to
like,
19.
No, I
like
know,
60% of-
I know. So look it up and see, because we need to revise this anyway. That could be part of our plan. Actually,
Could be totally wrong.
I'm looking for people for the fall to perhaps work on these bylaws, because they do need revisions. There's, there's a clause in here that says that we have a secretary that's paid.
No, we changed that, so
I
maybe those
know.
aren't the new ones.
These are the new ones that you gave me.
No.
You have other ones?
What year does it say on the bottom, on the back? It should be 2005 or 6
This
or 5.
is 2011 I have.
Yeah. It shouldn't say that in there.
I know. Well, there's other revisions. that
Actions
need
could
to
have
be
been
made.
taken without the revision of the bylaws, so it could have.
Because I know we got rid of that. Maybe it wasn't put in.
Something to think about, if any of you have some extra time in the fall, you could work on the bylaws. I'd love to have you do that. I would actually
Everybody's
help.
Everyone's
I know you're all
raising
jumping
hands.
for joy on
I
this.
just have a set of bylaws, and I'm my front seat of the car right now.
There you go,
Jump in.
there you go. But it does need some minor revision on it.
Oh, here's some of the, here's the
Very well done.
energy and gas bills, if you wanna look at them, you pass them down. I have copies. And Michelle's gonna get the other information that Charlene wanted.
Okay, and since this isn't a regular, so that motion passed. This isn't a real meeting where we're gathering information from other sources like the children's report and the director's report. But Charlene, did you have anything to address us with, from mayor and council, something
No,
important that
we'll
we need to know?
be, moving on capital, so that means that probably by, the end of August, we'll be ready to release the capital funds and we can start doing things like that. New furniture.
So what are you saying?
That in a couple of months, you'll have money to, you'll have your
Oh, so
capital.
we're
I'm
getting
money.
excited.
How exciting!
Thank you, that's very good news.
Thank you,
Can I
that's
just ask
such
a
good news.
administrative question? Does that mean the spend has to happen between August and December, or is that
No,
inclusive of the capital, is any spend?
Well, if you're
This
asking
year.
in general, there could be some things that but for the library, I don't think that there's.
I have capital money for the past 3 years, it's still waiting there. $1,400.
So once you say release the
Like,
hounds,
for instance, we still have $1,000, which we would, that, we will be using for, that we went through capital last year for, Project A. But we just put that aside because we know that we need more than $1,000, so we'll put $1,000 in next year. That doesn't mean we have to have spent that first $1,000, we can add it all together. I mean, like they did, like we did for the Grand Airport project, for instance.
so it's basically you get the carryover.
The only time that
capital.
you might have to use it would be if you have a matching grant, for instance, and the grant might say that the money has to be spent by the end of the year. Then you've got to do it.
Yeah.
But that would be about the only circumstance.
We still have 1,400 kind of in like a reserve, and just in case, like a couple of the computers go, I know I have that capital money. I didn't want to spend all of it. And that's specifically for computers also.
Just, is there capital, and I know we've talked about it, so is it presented somehow in our financials in the 1,400?
It's not in the financials, it's
In
separate.
the-
But
Because
he
this is-
sends me
This is your,
something
this
quarterly.
is your operating expenses, so.
No, I agree. I think it's a good example, because if Susan said she needed computers because something happened, I would argue,
It
take
should
it from
be
the
a capital,
capital,
it should be a
not trying to
capital expense.
reorganize
The question,
between.
yeah, but, yeah, I think that was.
I
just
get
a-
that, quarterly from Ken, so what I could do is add it to the packet when I get it.
Yeah,
So you
it's
see
just a
what
good-
we have left in capital, but we
It's a
can't
good,
use it
just
for
a-
operating.
Yeah, I don't,
No, it's for.
it's just a knowledge base of
furniture,
knowing.
Capital.
I usually put that in my report. In the beginning of the year, we still have capital.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you discussing it. It's
Yeah.
just, I lose sight of
But
it
that's a
after.
good idea, I could give you the printout every quarterly.
Do we have to vote on Joe's suggestion? Don't we have to vote on Joe's suggestion about the, coming back if we have to move, something from one area to another
I
area?
think we,
Was that the
We
vote?
took a vote on it.
That
That was the vote.
that vote was,
yeah.
All the things we discussed.
Yeah.
So we moved as a final decision, yes, on the new budget proposal grouping by categories. And then also we moved to have a revised budget column added to that particular budget layout template. And then also Michelle's going to incorporate the other items that were not
Michelle.
on the other, thank you, Michelle, onto that. So it'll be a complete package next time we see it.
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if Susan has to come back in order to move.
And then
move
Susan will, if there's any
Yeah, that's
reason
all
Was that a
that
part
she
of the,
needs
that
to
vote? Oh.
Yes,
move
that was all part of
categories,
the-
she'll call an
the
emergency
changes.
meeting for us. If it's something that's, going to affect us in the library with our patrons here, with our operation costs, then Susan will let us know and we'll come back together quickly for a meeting to address that. Now, am I
Do you
correct
want me
on
to
that?
motion that, just to make it clear?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
I'll just
that
make-
was a part of the.
It wasn't, because I stated generally as discussed, that sort of captured everything.
Mm.
But to be more specific, if Susan needs to, as a regular ongoing item, needs to spend beyond the category, she's to proceed what she needs to do, but at the following meeting, come up with her recommendation on where to take it from another subcategory. That action, from moving from one to another, the actual budget move will happen here. She's still allowed to go ahead and do what she needs to do, but she needs to do it with the mindset that she has to take it from somewhere else, and she has to present that to us. The second part is, if there's an emergency, like something significant happens here,
Right.
then she's okay to call a meeting to have
Right,
an action
yeah.
taken by us. Because in that sense, that's gonna require us to possibly go into surplus
Mhm.
to spend whatever emergency.
You never know,
happens.
that's what surplus is for, you never know if there's an emergency. I mean, that's why you hold on to it, who knows, right? And this is an open board.
So, with that said, that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Just so we can reflect it on the
Yes,
record.
Can you
please.
repeat that, Joe?
Yes.
Word for word.
Okay, so,
Sorry, who just seconded it?
Second.
who seconded it, Joe? Okay, so all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, the motion passes. All right. Now, since there is no official, not official format for the meeting, is there anything else, Susan, that you wanted to mention before we adjourn the meeting that was of importance to you, for us being here, coming together tonight?
Not really, I just wanna say that I submitted that Union County grant
Oh, yes,
for,
great.
what was it
How
for?
much did you?
Wait, $5,500
Excellent.
for that crayon kiosk for downstairs with the iPads, the 4 iPads for the children, and 4 Chromebooks that children can use in the library, because children use Chromebooks now. And I think I wrote a pretty good grant, and I think we won't have a problem getting the money.
No, I hope so, that's great.
I mentioned that the schools, don't have libraries, and we're used more and more, and, so,
I think you wrote a great proposal, actually.
Thank
Susan
you.
sent it to me and we looked at it, we talked about it,
Yeah.
I think it's great, I think.
and I added the
Be
school
a great thing for
like
our,
you suggested, that
just
was
to
a
let them
good
know
one.
that our
Yes.
schools are not supporting.
So
our
let's
community
hope,
anymore.
How
they
much
were.
is the amount? How
Well,
much
I
is it?
asked for 5,500. They were given 75,000 throughout Union County. So all of the directors, we got together and said we wouldn't ask for more than, $5,000 or $6,000 each. This way would be fair for everybody.
Right.
So, I'm really excited about the crayon kiosk. I think it's gonna be great. with the 4 iPads, and it's all preloaded.
Oh, they do pre-load
Yes,
it. Oh,
and then
that's
I have a
great.
card where I can buy, that which comes part of the package, where I can buy different programs.
Oh,
And they
great.
program it remotely from someplace else. So it's safe. And then the Chromebooks, which kids are familiar with because that's what they do their testing on Chromebooks now in the schools.
Great.
So,
Thank you for doing that.
yeah, so
You'll let us know.
as soon as it comes in, I will
Yeah,
send
let
out
us know if we
an
get that.
an
That's
email. So
wonderful.
let's
Okay,
hope for
yeah,
the best.
Is there an expected timeline?
You did a
when
great
you
job
get a
writing it. Thank you for
response?
doing all that. Okay, I just wanted to say, I know that the summer's just started, but you guys are doing a super job with the summer reading program. I attended the program, the magic program with Joe Fisher on the 22nd. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought he did a great job. We had a great attendance there. And how many registrations? You took over 100 for the summer
Oh,
reading
more
program,
than
right,
that.
that
There's about
day?
2, yeah, right, that
And
day.
then the president of the Friends of the Library, Kim Powers, and she handed out applications for Friends of the Library as they came out the door. We got them right away, and I also handed
I have
out
some money
museum
against the pool.
applications and
Oh.
get people to
He
join the
came in today
museum.
to get them.
And the Friends of the Library paid for that program, and I just want to thank them because they did a great job with that.
Well, I also want to say that today we had making ice cream.
Oh, yeah, how did that go?
We had 30 kids. It was fun. We had a lot of fun. And, you know, it really does make sense to go, I'm going to start going more regularly to those town meetings because I had quite a couple of people who came in and just said, you know, I didn't know you did so many things here, and gave us like a $10 donation, $20 donation. So it does pay.
It's great. There's
You know,
one
to do
tomorrow
it. Somebody
evening.
gave us a $200
We'd
check.
love to have you
So
at
we
7
didn't
o'clock
realize how
tomorrow
well we
night.
did here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very
Yes,
nice.
that's one of
Excellent.
the checks you'll be looking
Oh,
at.
okay,
Excellent.
$200.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one tomorrow evening. I'll be there at 7 o'clock. And it's the
That
only,
practically gives
it's
us
the
something
only
extra.
one until the middle of August, so
Yeah, I'll
they're
think
few and
about
far
it.
between in the summer if you can make it tomorrow.
If I
That'd be
can,
great.
yeah.
Well, if you don't make it, shoot
I'll
me
tell
an
you.
email and I'll bring up the highlights of these.
Because now we're offering French classes for children
Oui, oui, oui.
and Spanish classes.
It's
We said
wonderful.
Spanish in our brochure, but now we have French classes. But I'll send you all
Oh,
that
all right.
tomorrow, twice a week.
What's the age limit?
That's what I said.
Are we gonna have
Yeah,
class
right.
with adults?
I would like to too.
Yeah, there's an age
6 to
limit.
60, right?
I think it's up to like 12 or 10, because that's what I said I'd like to learn.
Well, thank you all for coming for this special meeting. I
Yes,
just
this was
appreciate your
wonderful.
time. So I'd like to have a motion, our next meeting, of course, is September 16th.
Is there a
Again,
public
hopefully.
portion?
And, oh, I'm sorry?
Is there a
Yes.
public portion of this?
I do not, but I will. I skipped.
Oh, you
so
look
we
at
kind
it.
of skipped
No,
around.
because he's
Kinda
the
skipped
referee.
around.
He's the
Kinda
only one here.
skipped around a little bit
The
today.
cameras the
Jake, Jake is not here tonight, so.
Just
I
for the
don't know.
record,
I am
John pointed to Saul to get an answer.
I am so sorry, mea culpa, because we were kind of skipping around with this emergency meeting. But yes, I'd like to hear a motion to open the public portion of our meeting
Second.
today. And a second, do we have any members of the public who would like to come up and speak to the board?
Saul Kiersman, 150 Berwyn Street.
Ah, see?
Just because it stuck out, the pension line item, is that an arbitrary line item, or is that at some point going to be used? It's
I
107.
hope not. I hope it's not gonna be used.
But, so,
We
so,
just have it there, I don't know why, we should erase it.
So
'Cause
am I presuming-
At one point, there was talk we'd have to pay our pension,
that's what I'm asking.
that's why we added it, but now, I mean, there'd be no way we could,
Right, so that's why I was wondering, maybe that should be
we'll eliminate
either
that.
removed or,
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's just
It's a-
the
it's a
thought,
good
it
point.
actually does reflect that the board here that doesn't pay into pension, that the municipality covers that cost.
right,
You
but
could look at it both ways.
just wondering, I understand that it could be zero all the time, but just explain that it's not, in a bookkeeping sense, it means nothing, because
You
there's.
know what, I think we'll take it out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
All right.
idea. Take out.
Because then when it comes,
Yeah.
because if at some point it starts coming in, I think the board would like to know.
No, I
Right.
don't know, what does the board think?
It's not an operating expense.
But-
I don't
It
mind
is.
it being in there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I think that's why I was there, just to show, because it was talk, Susan is right. And it just to reflect the fact that, there are pension costs that the borough picks up to their pension line item, not here.
And without making any, at some point it could,
You could.
right? And to have it there, but I guess that would also come into play when the figures
Look at
come
that,
in and,
right.
and everything. So then it was my understanding, and I'm just rehashing it again, that to confirm what Dexter and Sanjeta were saying, that unless it goes over this amount, the 416, not the 425, not the 427, but the 416, then it would come before the board. So in other words, there's,
No,
No.
it's the 427.
It's the 427?
No, no, no,
We're
no, no,
assuming,
no, 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 no. It's the
No.
416 that we're holding our
Right.
numbers to.
Holding to
anything above that
Right.
is brought before the board, correct?
category.
Correct,
Category.
but if there's within those subcategories,
That's fine, right, but I'm saying if within this, right?
if there's
It
movement
never
within the-
goes above the four, oh, so you're saying even within the categories, it would come before the board if it goes
Yes.
above?
So think of it like a
There's-
municipal budget,
right.
where it still has to come before the board, even though the bottom line doesn't change.
There's no party members. Oh, wait, there are, forget it.
There
I'll tell you later.
are. But it's the same concept.
Okay.
Just
And-
so that the board is aware that there's movement, even though the
Right.
bottom line shouldn't change.
Correct. That's
Right.
basically, now, should this decision be made a resolution? Because it's an established
Mhm.
practice that's gonna happen, and I guess it should be, so like, when the president says, well, what did they do last year, I guess there's some written resolution that
I
says,
mean, if they follow the format a municipality follows, then yeah, it should be a resolution.
and just at the next
So it's-
meeting, memorialize it, I guess?
Yeah,
well,
you could
but
do
we've
that,
added in the library surplus just in case we need to use that money.
No, I meant
So what
the
would
action
be-
the action to bring before the board anything that goes above the subcategories.
But I think we just discussed that.
Right,
didn't
but
we?
just to have it as a resolution, because like it happened with the president, she was saying, because I recall when we removed the secretary, the paid secretary, and there's a resolution somewhere, I know because it was made, so I think it would be good for 3, 5, 10 years from now, to have a resolution that says, oh, this is what a board's supposed to do, and then maybe put in its bylaws at some point. So,
We could have that and present it in the September meeting,
okay,
which will
thank
be
you.
our next meeting.
And thank you it's a very good discussion.
I think we can come up with a template, if you want to, just send me an email, remind me, and I'll come up with a template
Alright.
resolution, you just have on hand, if you need to make, that
I have a
recommendation.
template.
You did the last resolution.
No, I know, but that, I understood what he was saying, this I don't.
If you want some wording, moving from category to category.
I just need the wording.
What-
Somebody just
I
needs
think
to
a
tell me
draft
the
of the
wording.
wording.
Yeah, just a draft.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And then
It's
send it
gonna
to
be
me.
if I do the minutes right, it should be.
I know that.
Any expense that's
Same thing,
decided above the
And then I'll
subcategory
put
should
it
be
in the
brought before the board for a vote or discussion.
Template.
I think that's an
Right.
excellent idea.
Yep.
Okay, all right, and just, one more question. So
Yes, go ahead, Saul.
you said that the database was included in the periodicals?
Yeah,
Is the database like a one-time thing?
yes.
Could that have been, just because it reflects poorly on the periodicals,
Well, it
right?
doesn't, because it
How
doesn't
much was it?
reflect. Well, it was, I don't know, for $1,500. It doesn't reflect poorly on the periodicals, because the periodicals are expensive anyway.
I'm saying impacts, let me use the right word, it impacts.
But we're talking about the dollar, bottom line now, so, I mean, I could take it out and put it someplace else, I could put it in, I don't know where I would put it, because it's on our database
Computer.
under the periodicals, kind of.
So, right, is the database strictly for periodicals?
No. Periodicals are all the magazines that we
Right.
have, okay? But, I didn't know of another place to put this.
Would that be more of a, I don't know, I guess I'm asking
It's
the
really
former mayor or
books-
the
It would be under,
councilwoman.
it's.
Wouldn't that be a capital expense? Because it's
No.
just a software program.
No, it isn't a
And
software
Technically,
program.
softwares are not capitalized, because they don't have,
5-year.
First time purchases.
yeah, unless you combine it with like a purchase of computers.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But we're not
But it's
really
not like that.
purchasing it.
And it's not a
we're-
software run to
The
combine.
software's not really
access to it.
capitalized.
And it's just it's not gonna be every year, it's gonna be
Right,
just
exactly.
once.
One
It's a
shot.
one-time
Isn't-
deal.
We're not buying it, we're getting access to it.
Isn't first time procurement in general cap
Yeah.
and ongoing
Yeah.
fees, licenses for the software?
But we're not buying, because we're not buying it. We're simply getting access to it.
But what I'm asking is it gonna be every year 1,500?
No. I don't
Never
know.
again.
Well, not, I wouldn't say never again, but, this year it was $1,500. But it was through Books on Tape, the same, vendor
Mhm.
selling this product.
That'd be good, because
But
if
it's through LMXAC, which is our consortium. It
All right.
becomes more complicated.
If we want to continue having this, will we have to pay again
That's
next year?
what I'm asking.
Yes.
Then I think it should be a separate, again, that's for
Then
the
I'll put
board.
a separate line, but
Right.
right now we're putting everything in one column.
Because I think that would better, again, it wouldn't affect this, because it would still be there somewhere, but for something to see if a decision needs to be made
We
about.
need to create a new one, I assume.
Right. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
know.
underneath this,
Yeah,
I
you
could
should
just
really-
put
you should really see
database
what-
purchases or something.
Yeah.
Underneath the audio visual, I could put
Correct.
database purchases.
Related database purchases.
Just put it in pension.
Thank you.
I'll put it in. All right, so related database purchases.
Right.
That
Thank
would
you.
make you happy?
I would make the board happy, I guess. I don't know, not
It
me.
makes sense. I think it just, especially if it's gonna be a continued cost, you know, and
It
this
may
way the
not be,
board
though.
member.
Next year, we may decide we don't want to keep it.
Well, that
But
may be true.
see, that would
for
help in the
both
decision,
things,
because if it turns out that the expense is too much, then you can say, well, let's just remove that.
How are we doing with
We're
these?
doing well.
Good.
I'll have another report at the end, in September, but
Excellent.
we have at
And
least
then-
100 hits
That's
a
great,
month, yeah.
very good.
And then just my last question is
Yes,
the
Sol, go ahead.
LMXAC.
Well, that's our whole,
No, I'm saying Elizabeth is,
is part of it
In-
now, yes.
all right, so.
Is that wonderful?
Now, is it only the main, because when I went on the website,
No, it should be
it
everything.
just said the main branch, but I thought, I don't think they're just gonna exclude the other
entire-
branches
No, it's everything.
If
But
I
you know
can-
what, maybe it's not supposed to be up and running
until August.
100% till August or
Right.
September.
Right.
This was sort of like a trial basis.
But I
Not
think that's
trial,
great, that's a
but-
huge,
It's the
actual
whole
library of-
database, Sol, including the New Jersey collection, which is what
Yeah,
I'm on all
it's
the
amazing.
time. So that's not gonna be up until the end of August, they told me.
And
but
that
that'll be
might bring
phenomenal.
our LMXAC membership down a little bit.
Also-
It
Oh,
may,
okay.
because they're also adding another,
Yeah.
I don't know, they haven't said what it is yet,
It's the
but
same
another
one.
big library.
That's excellent, though, let's have
So
Elizabeth.
great.
And is
Our system
is
the
Mural
exact
still in
same
existence?
as theirs.
Just because it was on the website, I just want
It
maybe.
is in Union County, not in Essex County. I mean, some of the counties have opted out of mural.
Okay.
But it's, in Union and Middlesex, it's still vital.
Because Elizabeth is part of that, or used to
Right?
be.
No, what?
Because on the website, it says that Elizabeth is part of,
Yeah, Elizabeth is
Mural.
part of mural.
but not to the extent that LMXAC is
Well,
gonna.
LMXAC is a totally different thing than mural.
Could you explain what the difference is?
LMXAC is our consortium. They're the ones that do our databases. Okay, so if you're part of that consortium, you get a library card that says you're part of it, so that your numbers in the database, if you go to any of these 35 libraries that are in LMXAC. Mural is I want to go to Morris County to get a book, but I don't have rights to Morris County. So what they would do is they'd come here with their library card, we'd get a little tag and put on their card saying they're in good standing. They can go to Morris County and get a book. But it's on our dime, you know what I'm saying? So if they lose that book, we're responsible for it, and they take all the information from the person. It's to allow people to borrow in places that their consortium isn't part of. I know it sounds a little confusing. Most people don't use mural anymore.
Right, I just saw it on the website, so I just wanted to ask about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still there, but nobody uses it.
But now with the LMXAC, I can actually go to Elizabeth?
Yeah,
And
with
pick
your
up a
library
book.
card.
Yes.
You have to be in
Yeah.
good, you have to have a
And
library card
Would they
from
have
here.
to call you and?
No,
okay
because
it, or-
he'd be in there.
Yeah.
And to be in good standing, does that mean the 3-year renewal period? Like, do you
Well, that
need to
means you
renew?
don't have huge fines.
Fines is what they're looking for.
Huge fines?
You're looking for overdue books.
No, but you can go to Elizabeth with your Roselle Park card, and you can get as many books as you want.
Right.
They never have to call us, they never have
Right,
to talk to
correct.
us.
It's
Yeah.
just, the card is, it's your passport, for
It's
lack
your
of a better word.
passport
Yes,
through
that's a good
LMXAC, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sol. Any other questions? All right, thank you. I'd like to hear a motion to close the public portion of our meeting.
So moved.
Second? Someone? Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so moved, public portion is closed. Any other important old or new business? I think we're gonna wait until September, if that's okay with
You don't want to
everyone.
meet next month?
No.
Please, let's all take the month off, please. That would be great.
something will happen.
Okay, I'd like to, at our next meeting, of course, is September 16th. Everyone have a wonderful August. Thank you all for your time. I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn our meeting
So
tonight.
moved.
Thank you. Second?
Yeah.
Thank you, Rashmi. Okay, everyone, be safe. Have a wonderful rest of the summer. Keep on reading. Thanks for coming tonight.
Read on.
Goodbye.
Read on. Actually, I did find this statute, I have to read through it.
Now, what did you get this from the statute?